The original Phillips curve is a trade-off between inflation and unemployment, where in this case, lower unemployment means higher inflation. But if you look at the modified Phillips curve, then that is a trade-off between change in inflation and unemployment, where lower unemployment means increasing inflation. So in this question, we want to try to see what is the difference between when we say in the original Phillips curve, lower unemployment means higher inflation, and in the modified Phillips curve, lower unemployment means increasing inflation. So we'll try to see this difference. On this question, we're basically told that we start off with a natural rate of unemployment at 5% and inflation equal to pi bar. And in year T, the authorities decide to bring the unemployment rate down to 3% and hold it there forever. So they want to lower unemployment. So you want to see what happens to inflation in the initial periods using the original Phillips curve to begin with, right? So we're told the Phillips curve is given as is in the textbook, is given as pi t is equal to pi et plus 0.1 minus 2 ut. This is the Phillips curve. Where we're told that pi et is equal to, this is how it's in the text as well, 1 minus theta pi bar plus theta pi t minus 1. Now we're told that initially theta is equal to 0, which we know we have in the original Phillips curve. If theta is equal to 0, then what does this mean? Then this means that pi et is equal to pi bar, right? So pi bar is just a constant greater than 0, we're told. Constant greater than equal to 0. So we have anchored expectations. So inflation expectations are anchored. They're equal to some constant value. Anchored expectations. We know this is an assumption of the original Phillips curve. So if theta is equal to 0, then we know we have anchored expectations, and then we can write our Phillips curve equation as this. And then our PC is given to us as pi t is equal to pi bar plus 0.1 minus 2 ut. Now this pi bar plus 0.1 is just a constant, right? And this is what we have as the original Phillips curve, which we know is a trade-off between inflation and unemployment because this term is just a constant now. So this is original PC. So now what happens is, let's continue. So now they say, so this is, we saw the originally the PC. So now they say now UT is kept at 3%, at 3%, below UN is 5%. So you're keeping unemployment below the natural rate of 5% forever. What does this mean? This means that UT is equal to 3% is equal to UT plus 1 is equal to UT plus 2. So this is just constant. This is what this means. So the equation of our PC now becomes, so now that we're applying this, that the unemployment rate is kept at 3% below UN is 5% forever. So the equation of PC now becomes, it was pi t is equal to pi bar, and we had plus 0.1. Minus 2 we had ut, but we know ut is just kept at 3% forever, so we can just put 0.03. Why we can do that? So this is, we're just plugging ut is 3% in our equation of the Phillips curve. Because ut is kept at 3%, below UN is equal to 5% forever. So then what we can do is, let's further simplify this, and this becomes pi t is equal to pi bar plus 4%, where what is pi bar plus 4%? It's just a constant, right? Because pi bar is a constant value, so pi t is just constant now. So pi t is equal to pi bar plus 4%, right? So from here, what we notice is, give pi t plus 1, if I want to see pi t plus 1, where we just, we have pi t is pi bar plus 4%, so we just forward this by one period, so we get pi t plus 1. But since pi t is constant, so pi t plus 1 is also pi bar plus 4%. Pi t plus 2 is also pi. We just forward this now by one period, so it's still pi bar plus 4%, right? Because inflation at time t is constant, so when we forward this by one period or two period, it's still constant, and so on. So pi t plus 2, pi t plus 3, all of them are pi bar plus 4%. So we have pi t is equal to pi t plus 1 is equal to pi t plus 2, pi t plus 5 is equal to pi bar plus 4%, right? So we see that when unemployment went down, when you kept unemployment at 3%, below UN is 5%, then your inflation throughout came to a higher level, pi bar plus 4% from pi bar that you initially had. So the way we're going to interpret this is interpretation. So this will come to the fact that, when you have original Phillips curve, so low unemployment means higher inflation. Okay, when theta is equal to 0, so we get the original Phillips curve, original PC. The trade-off is between, so here we can see the trade-off is between lowering unemployment, right? Lowering unemployment. So it's between unemployment and inflation, right? It's between lowering unemployment permanently. So obviously over here you wanted to permanently keep it at 3% below UN is 5%, right? So lowering unemployment permanently, which was that UT decreased from UN is equal to 5% to 3% forever. So the trade-off is between trying to lower unemployment permanently and higher level of inflation, right? So higher level of inflation means higher inflation, right? Higher inflation, we mean what happened over here was pi t increased from pi bar. So that's what we started with, to pi bar plus 4% forever. That's what happened, right? When you try to lower unemployment from 5% to 3%, that resulted in higher inflation. Pi t increased from pi bar to pi bar plus 4%. Now here what we need to notice so that we can distinguish it from the modified Phillips curve, okay, we have higher inflation. We have higher inflation, not increasing inflation, right? We'll look at the modified Phillips curve that will actually have increasing inflation in that case, not increasing inflation. As the inflation rate stays steady, as the inflation rate stays same for each year, right? Every year inflation is the same, it's at a high level, but it stays same for each year, right? So we can see over here that when you lowered unemployment from 5% to 3%, inflation went up from pi bar to pi bar plus 4%, but it stayed at that higher level. It's not like one year you have pi bar plus 4%, next year you have pi bar plus 8, then pi bar plus 12. That would have been increasing inflation, which we'll see with the modified Phillips curve in the next part. But here we're saying that with the original Phillips curve, the trade-off is between unemployment and inflation. If you lower unemployment, you have a higher level of inflation, but if you like keep unemployment at the lower level, then inflation would stay at the high level, it won't keep on increasing. Now the part B in this is, the part B says, so part B here says that is this scenario realistic, right? So now from part A, we know K expected inflation is equal to pi bar and theta is equal to 0. And we saw K inflation is equal to pi bar plus 4% forever when you try to lower unemployment below UN is 5%. Now, seeing that inflation continues, to deviate from pi bar, right, which is your expected inflation, people will change the way they form expectations, right? So this is not a realistic scenario because inflation expectations will de-anchor eventually. When people see that inflation is not what they expect it to be, like you're expecting it to be pi bar, but every year it's constantly pi bar plus 4%, it's higher than that, so they will change the way they form the expectations. Now they will no longer expect pi bar. And then we'll see in the next part how this will result in the modified Phillips curve. And in that case, how in that case to lower unemployment, change the way they form expectations, right? How in that case to lower unemployment, now you won't just have higher inflation, but you'll have increasing inflation, because in this case we saw that when unemployment went down, that resulted in a higher level of inflation, but inflation was not increasing. As long as unemployment was kept at the lower level 3%, inflation was at a high level, pi bar plus 4%, wasn't increasing every year. But we'll see in inflation expectations will de-anchor. But we'll see with the modified Phillips curve how lowering unemployment will mean that we'll have constantly increasing inflation. So that would be the difference between them.